World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
It's so dangerous. You are risking not only your life, but also my life.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
And then there were two, just two, who can put together their championship in this 5-round season. We've seen everything. We've seen highs, we've seen lows, we've seen massive shocks and twists along the way. But when it comes to the Alpine GT4 Championship with World Pro Racing, it is straight up 1 versus 1. One has been the more consistent of the two, but has been struggling to find together the results that would say race victor outright on pure pace. That, your championship leader, Alex Trehorn. The other has been incredibly quick, the fastest driver in qualifying at every single round of this championship. But when it needed to be counted the most, it was one retirement which has set back all of the amazing progress. That is Alessio Spinelli. We are down to one more race, Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin today. This is Road America and your 5th and final round of this 5-week championship, brought to you, of course, on motorsport.tv, brought to you with TVM Sports and with ESTV, the Esports Television Network, as well as the likes of us on YouTube, on Facebook Live, and on Twitch as well. I'm Jake Sperry. Joining alongside me today is Alex Goldschmidt for the ride. And Alex, this is a very important championship, but destiny is very firmly today in the hands of Alex Trehorn. It is P2 or higher which secures the championship outright, and that includes the litany of bonus points which come along with picking up a championship victory.
Yes, indeed. Good evening, Jake. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the season finale. Been looking forward to this one. Yes, I mean, the difference, Spinelli needed to have some really good results in the bag, but Adelaide, I think, was where things became a bit unstuck. We saw that massive incident where it was a long repair in the garage, but he's still 26 points behind Alex Trehorn, so I would say this, old adage, never say never. Motorsport is unpredictable. Tonight could prove that in spades, and what's more, I'm really looking forward to it.
Of course, we are seeing a lot of unpredictability over the course of racing. You can do so right here with us, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't had the chance to already, you can like, share, and subscribe for more amazing content brought to you by the team here at World Pro Racing. And on top of that as well, you can head yourself over to worldproracing.com/events to get yourself in on some of the amazing sim racing events that we have in the pipeline for you. Doesn't matter if you are brand new to sim racing or if you are a veteran looking to get things going and finding a new championship to get stuck into. We have it all for you on a whole range of different platforms. But there is something else that we need to talk about in terms of platform here, Alex, and that, of course, is ballast. Ballast in this series, you get 9 kilograms of ballast for a win, 6 for second, and 3 for third. Crucial fact is, Spinelli and Trehorn, they have double the amount of ballast of anybody else in this field, 24 kilograms apiece.
Yes, Pedro Crulas Gomez, who we didn't see at the last round at Silverstone, half that ballast, so 12. Alex Goncalves, who's finally hit the rostrum at this season, has got 3. We've also got Casey Lagarde also picking up a third at Adelaide earlier on this season, and also Stanislav Silva Pirmets, who was on the podium last time out at Silverstone. It's looking to be rather interesting, and at the moment with the drivers out on circuit, I mean, the thing is that I'm just looking at it, that Alex Trehorn is setting pretty good lap times. He's about just under 4 tenths off the pace from Alex Goncalves, but it's only free practice. It's going to be qualifying and also the race that it's where it's going to be most important. The ballast can also help the centre of gravity, and just by the credence and the prestige of Road America, it's going to be one hell of a roller coaster ride at Elkhart Lake in Wisconsin.
It's 6.44 kilometers. It is a track which doesn't have a designated hairpin, has a carousel, has many 90-degree corners, but this is a place that you would say is very good for 2 things out there overall. One is slipstream, the other one is draft. So we take a little look today around this Elkhart Lake circuit, making our drive then down in towards that is the hurry down section, and now that big long sweeping right of the carousel. There you can see the track map, 29 degrees here today that we are dealing with, track temperature, air temp of 27 degrees. overall. And this is an important track to get correct. Not only is this a very high speed circuit, but it is also here, you would say, a very high wear circuit on the tyres. And those tyres will be absolutely screaming for mercy at the end of 30 minutes.
Yeah, especially when you're carrying the momentum through the respective corners. You've got to nail the braking zone perfectly. You've got to turn in correctly, hit the apex, don't hit the power too early coming out of the corners, because what will then happen is that back end will start to break a little bit of traction. The wheels will over rotate because of that power going through the back end of the car, and that can be very, very important. And one of the things I do like about the circuit here at Road America is that coming onto the start-finish straight, you're literally as if you are actually going to start a roller coaster. And that's a really good opportunity for people. I mean, it's a long straightaway down the Road America straight from turns 14 to turn 1. That is going to be the prime opportunity. And then you've got 3 to 5, where it's just as conducive for slipstreaming. But then it's when you get into the to the moraine sweep, through into the hurry downs, through into the carousel, the bend, the kink, kettle bottoms, which is between turns 11 and 12, and then into Canada corner. You've really got to really set the car up well in order to compensate for camber. If you smack the curves, we've seen it before this season, Jake, where that can really compromise on the damper rebound rate. You want a car that's going to be compliant and not too stiff, because not only is that going to unsettle the car, but that could also cost you lap time.
It certainly can, and Alex Goncalves takes the decision to pull the car back to pits. Casey Lagarde currently fastest first sector out there of anyone so far. No surprises, a little bit of draft in front then here in practice, and was absolutely flying in the Matrix Motorsports car a little bit earlier on last time out. And the key that we are seeing is that some drivers are getting help from the fact that drivers in front are now starting to hit that ballast area, and they are now dealing with a lighter car and therefore a significant advantage. This final round, you don't have to worry about ballast for next round or anything to that sort of respect. This is the final round, so you go out there, you attack, you put everything on the table. This is your last chance to showcase what you've got in this Alpine GT4.
Yeah, it's the last rodeo, as they would say, but you can see that Casey Lagarde, personal best in Sector 2, but again, as I said earlier, a little bit of, you've got to be really, really careful with that precision, because we saw the back end of Casey Lagarde's number 69 from Matrix Motorsport Alpine go a little bit sideways going through that left-hander right-hander a second ago, and again, a little bit of a tail-end drift coming out of turn 14, but he's going to get a tow from the car in front. And the top time at the moment set by Andy Birch, 2-minute 15.622. Casey Lagarde goes across the line. Oh, 3 1,000ths behind. That's a bit of nice work from Casey Lagarde there.
Yeah, it's a wonderful time. Just fell away late in terms of the lap time, and we are seeing some drivers have some really good practices out there. Johnson in the 85 machine up there in 4th position. Andy Birch currently top of the times as things stand. So we are really seeing here a difference in drivers, but we also have to note that the top 2 from last time out here have yet to go out in this practice and set any times. There's one of them, Silva Piamet, at this moment in time, riding in the number 27 machine, and of course, second in the championship, Alessio Spinelli.
Yeah, and that's going to be interesting to see, because Trey Horn at the moment is half a second off of Andy Birch, down in 5th position, but Spinelli looks to be now getting out onto the circuit itself. I mean, I'll be quite interested to see. And there is a 67 Blue Bolt Racing Alpine, flames spitting from the centre-mounted exhaust, as we've got a yellow out in sector number 3. But seems like we've got quite a few of the supporters for Jörn Dix from Rhineland Birch Racing. Jörn currently 10th at the moment and is ahead of the returning Vance Lagarde in the 96. Got the number 79 of that is Anton Valle Gonzalez, as Silva Piamet rounds out the top 13. Jörn Dix is now about to start a hot lap. See what the number 14 has in the tank here at Road America, but it's a pretty lengthy circuit, as you very well mentioned, Jake.
Lengthy, but it goes around very, very quickly. This is also one of the highest fuel usage tracks that you will find there over the course of the season. So you're going to see the cars that are a little bit heavier than they are at other places. You can see trying to really fight through the corner at turn 3 and now making that run to the moraine sweep. Of course, we are in cheese country here when it comes to the United States of America. The Green Bay Packers a stone's throw away here from Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, and of course they'll be hoping for some good fortunes this season. But down on the brakes, using gravity against you as you try and fling it into turn 5. A lot of curb on the exit you can use to attack, but then you're straight back up the hill here towards turn 6 in this middle sector. That turn 6 is so difficult because you are turning and braking at the same time. Jörn Dix proves just how difficult that section of track is because you want to carry speed through there. It's very, very difficult to get a planted car when you're cresting over the rise into a flat corner.
And there were definitely 3 wheels on that wagon after that hefty whack into the wall, but Andy Birch fastest in sector 1, up by just over 3.5 tenths. He's about to cross the line here at Road America. Let's see what happens. Oh, 2 minutes, 15.483. That's a pretty good lap time. So Andy Birch has got some pace. Obviously, what's more important, he's got no ballast.
Yep, no ballast. Of course, hasn't finished on the podium so course this season, and that will mean that Andy Birch will have 24 extra kilos effectively to play with compared to some of the rivals out there fighting for victory overall. And this is going to make life a little bit harder for Alessio Spinelli more than Alex Trehorn here today. We know that Alex Trehorn needs P2 or higher to figure things out and make this one his in the back pocket, but Spinelli ideally needs a win here. It gets exponentially harder if he can't find himself at the top step of the podium. That's where the ballast makes life tougher.
Yeah, also, the other battle that I'm keeping my eyes on in the championship standings here, Jake, is between Alex Goncalves, Andy Birch, and Joao Carapau, and they're currently separated by, 18 points coming into this round. So the final step on the championship virtual podium is also not quite set in stone. Casey Lagarde's got an outside chance of that. Currently 6th at the moment with 75 points. 2 good finishes both at Adelaide and at Silverstone keeps him in contention. And then you've also got Anton and Francisco Valle Gonzalez. They're probably not that far away. Pedro Cruz Gomez, Jörn Dix, Steve Johnson. That's anyone from 3rd to 11th that could possibly get towards the top 3 at the end of the championship standings, but that's easier said than done.
Certainly is, and we have seen how easier is very much said than done. But if there is any place to go out there today and see some great battling and some overtaking action, today is probably going to be the day where if you don't qualify well, you've got a better chance of making that progress through the field. It's not a guarantee, of course, being on pole position to win the race, but it gives you the best possible opportunity to go out there. And now you're going to be getting drivers who are working things out. And a lot of things get worked out in a practice, really. Are you going to be running out there and qualifying fuel? Are you out there on race fuel? Are you out there on a race setup? What are you trying to get out of this practice in order to improve and get better for the qualifying and the racing that will be happening about 2 minutes from this point in time? It's this sort of ebbs and flows and swings and roundabouts here, really, Alex, that we see over the course of a practice session, which means, right now, Andy Birch, 1 1/3 tenths of a second clear of Goncalves. There's still something to it, but it's not necessarily the end story right now. It's almost like you just read the blurb on a book.
It's like the epilogue, Jake, giving you the bit of the aperitif before things really kick off in qualifying. So it just makes you wonder who is, I think, as the Americans like to use the term, considering we're in Wisconsin, sandbagging. So whether there is more possibility of more time coming out of maybe, say, Andy Birch's car, Alex Goncalves, Casey Lagarde, Steve Johnson, and Alex Trehorn. They are all covered by just under 6 tenths. The form book says to me that with the ballast that Trehorn has, it's going to be a tall order to get into the top 2, onto the front row. But then you look at what the difference is between Birch and Johnson from 1st to 4th. There's something very, very appetising But then it could also mean that that could give an opportunity maybe to Trayhorn if the top 4 stumble over each other going through into turns 1, 2 and 3 on the very first lap. That could give Trayhorn exactly what he needs. If he qualifies P5, well, he's got the ringside seat.
He does have a ringside seat, and he'll be looking to try and use that if qualifying is any indication of the practices that we have got. We are just under 10 seconds now before practice effectively gets put into the books then, and everything's nicely done. Francisco Valle Gonzalez to the line sets a 2:16.587. Good enough then for 10th position, and some really close times out there in practice. The top 11 split by 1.2 seconds, and now make it the top 12 because Jørn Dix has come to the line, gone to 4th position. Casey Lagarde then over the line as practice brings itself over then to a close. Now, one of the things I'm looking at in qualifying is track position, which is going to be coming up here, Alex, because this is going to be a really, really important qualifying session for track position. Not necessarily by having clean air, as we have seen many times before, but more rather as we go through getting in a draft train, finding a driver in front of you who you know is going to be almost as quick as you, and then using that toe along the straights to give yourself 2, 4, 6 tenths of a second extra advantage.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to see the likes of Andy Birch and Jørn Dix, 2 teammates. They've been showing good credence in free practice. They'll probably use that to their advantage. Then you have to look at the quandary with Alex Trayhorn and Alessio Spinelli, our 2 championship protagonists. What is their strategy call? If someone gets a double toe coming out of turn 14 and all the way down to turn 1, that could give them quite a bit of an advantage, maybe anywhere between 3 to 6 tenths of a second in terms of toe advantage. So that's where that's going to be crucial. If you can get a double toe down the main straightaway, I think that's your best option, if you can get yourself on the track in the correct position at the right time.
There are many options available, but the option everyone will be looking for in these 15 minutes of qualifying is to put themselves up on position number 1 here today. And if they can put themselves on P1, that is exactly what they want, to be out there in the front, keeping themselves out of trouble. It's worth keeping an eye out as well when it comes to the racing. You've got a very narrow front pit stretch. That's going to mean that they funnel towards a very quick turn 1. It means that it's very liable, this circuit, for incident.
Yeah, I mean, especially if they tried to go 3 abreast into turn 1 at the first time of asking. We did see that earlier on this season at Portimao. Let's not forget a couple of incidents down there in the Autodromo Internacional do Algarve. But yeah, it's going to be crucial, as you said, Jake, but it's also crucial to make sure that you keep the momentum. And Alex Goncalves, rather neat and tidy through the section there on the outlap, but now winding up that Alpine to volume number 11.
Yep, and volume 11 looks like it could be the one that gets all of the jobs quote-unquote done. So we'll see how this opening lap goes through, see what's available right now. Alex Trayhorn, meanwhile, talk about his season just ever so quickly as we focus on Goncalves' flying lap, has not finished a single race so far this season outside of the podium places.
That's a pretty good consistent statistic there. I mean, also drivers that have kept themselves scoring over 20 points and above. Alex Goncalves running out the top 3, who now top 3 starts his flying lap going into the right-hander at T1. Andy Birch, João Carapal. Those 3 drivers that ran out the top 5 in the championship standings, Jake, have all scored at least 20 points per round. So that just shows, again, towards the championship, you have to be consistent.
You really do, and that consistency we have seen over and over again. Goncalves then making his charge down the moraine sweep here towards turn 5 out there on track. There's a lot of elevation here at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, at Road America. As into turn 5, you can see the glowing of the brake discs as you go through, and that is how hard he is pushing. He's dipped 2 tires in the grass, trying to get everything he can out of this lap. The next left-hander comes along straight after 06, and now you're looking towards the hurry down section of track through 7 now, and through this bit of straight, which is very, very bumpy, towards turn number 8 out there overall. Another 90-degree left-hander. You can really carry that momentum in these GT4s, and then the long, long carousel, which often leads to tyre wear on those outside left, which will be the issue here today. Those outside left clockwise circuit around this place, and don't ever go too wide at this kink. This is one of the tougher corners on circuit. You can see you need all of that momentum to take all of the track available. Now you make that run to turn 12. With this is Canada corner coming up. This wonderful right, as you can see, 47.1 in the middle sector, 49.6 in the first. You can see this is going to be one of the places you are going to see moves done. Bill Mitchell-Bend is an off-camber left-hander. You've got to be very, very nice and neat here. Very tough to go too wide. And then that final corner approaches then. As you go through this final right at turn 14, it's a rise up to the start-finish line. A huge hill that you have to crest as you go over. And as you make that charge towards the start-finish line, now here is the time from Alex Goncalves. Time to beat. That is a 15.5 on the board.
Yeah, not too far off what we saw in free practice, and that's going to be rather interesting. Andy Birch already a 10th down in the first sector, but it's early doors here in qualification, and looks like Vance Lagarde is in the pits. Trev Sharp has just gone through across the timing beam, as has Darrell Russell. Trev Sharp with 2 minutes 17.1. Casey Lagarde springs up into second position. Fastest third sector out of anybody is all behind Andy Birch. Someone definitely threading the eye of the needle, and that looked to be, I think, Darrell Russell going a bit sideways, and that would have been I think probably going through a bit further towards the back part of the circuit, maybe between turns 11 and 12, but again, nice and neat there from Andy Birch, not getting too much air going through Bill Mitchell-Bend, but then out of turn 14, he's doing 49.7 in the first, 47.2 in the second. Now he heads his way across the line. Alex Trahorn already, though, Jake, up into P4, 2 minutes 16.128, as that's a pretty good time there from Andy Birch, and that puts him P2 behind Alex Goncalves.
You can see the smoke there coming out of the machine just in front of Stephen Johnson, who's looked really, really good in practice there. That will be, I believe, Trev Sharp potentially, who is out there showing that he's not got maybe the best engine in the world right now to be putting laps in, and no oil system out there on circuit, but it's going to be very distracting pretending like it's wet weather conditions and having all that smoke just battering into that there. And you can see it's affecting Johnson there. Gets a little bit wide going through the king.
Yeah, that can impair your vision just by having that oil-related smoke cloud coming out from the exhaust pipe. And yeah, peripheral vision is key, especially around such a circuit like Road America, and especially with these high speed momentum shifting corners. Stephen Johnson, I think, has gone top in sector 1, but I've just seen Alex Goncalves with an absolutely blistering lap time. The number 2's put in a 2 minute 15.309 as Stephen Johnson about to cross the stripe behind that smoking Alpine, and Stephen Johnson up to P8, just over a second adrift.
Yep, a 16.3. I wonder if he was being held up there into turn 1. He takes a lunge down to the inside as he tries to go through. So Goncalves, Birch, Lagarde, Trahorn, Dix, your top 5 at the moment. The 2 Sharps are 9th and 10th, and we are yet to see times from Vance Lagarde and Alessio Spinelli so far out there in qualifying. So this is a big, big battle that we find ourselves in at the moment. There is Dix, currently in 5th position right now, made a personal best middle sector out there in the lap. Yellow flag out in sector 3. That'll be a driver pulling the car off and getting back to the pit lane. But Dix over to the line. That's a 16 flat on the board. Remains then in 5th place with that one. Spinelli, though, fastest first sector of anyone. A little bit slower in the middle sector. He's down 2/10. But now as he makes a charge to the line, this is looking good enough here for 2nd position out there at this moment in time. Makes that crest over towards the line. 15.3 to beat. 15.9 it is as he goes to 3rd fastest.
Oh, and he pips Trayhorn, and that is by 81 thousandths of a second. Darrell Russell finding the outer limits of the track boundaries, I'm afraid. He's done a personal best. I mean, still, it's good to see all skill levels here competing in the Alpine GT4 Championship, but a circuit like this at Road America, you know, it's a track that some drivers haven't had that much practice at, but it's one that is a real good challenge, and any driver will say, you know what, I might not be at the position where I want to be. However, it's more a case of, well, let's keep pushing. Let's see if I can get any quicker.
Exactly. It's very much a case of drivers trying to find as much they can out of the track. Sometimes when you push a little bit too hard, you quote-unquote struggle to make friends with the apex. But I'm sure these drivers know that they've just got to stay calm here, and it's a long lap to get things done. If you do pull the car off to the side of the road, it takes you about 5 minutes here, plus to make sure that you get that lap all sorted, because of course you've got to do that first flying lap as you go through with an out lap. So you're looking at these drivers thinking, okay, well, we've got to be out there with about 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining on the clock. Otherwise, we've got no chance to get that final lap in. Casey Lagarde, fastest first sector of anybody here. And again, we are seeing a lot of drivers are quick in that first sector, but it's the middle and final sectors where it's favoring Goncalves compared to everyone else.
Well, Lagarde's done a 47.188 in the second sector. Not that, well, actually very comparable, I must say, with Alessio Spinelli, who put in a 47.104. But Casey Lagarde in the 69 from Matrix Motorsport rides the crest over the start-finish straight and now surges towards the line. What's the time going to be? Second position, 2 minute 15 point treble five, a 38.7 final sector for Casey Lagarde.
It was only 500ths off of the quickest time in the final sector. Piermet struggling with that middle sector. He then also pips out the fastest first sector of anybody. Makes that charge through the lefts and rights. Remember, was second last time out at Silverstone in first race of his season. Or second race, sorry, of his season. So has 34 points to his name in the championship. Will get tow up the hill from one of the Valle Gonzalez brothers as he tries to make that charge over towards the line. There goes Piermet, who goes with a 15.9 of his own, and that will bump Trayhorn another position down into 6th overall. Vance Lagarde looking pretty decent there. That's a 16.7. That will improve up to 11th position with 3 minutes 45 remaining qualifying now.
Alex Goncalves up on Sector 1 by 22 thousandths of a second. Yellow out in Sector 2, but now gets briefly retracted. I mean, Alex Goncalves has been a bit of a dark horse here so far this evening, but, you know, just look at how hard that car is being literally pulled from pillar to post, and he's up by over a 10th in Sector 2. I think we're on course, Jake, for probably the best part of a 2:15.1. The way that Alex Goncalves is stringing this brilliant lap together here in quali.
Oh, this is absolutely fantastic. Just needs a good final corner. Everything looks calm and composed. He's using all of the road. He's using all of the experience there. And look, oh, he's pushed so wide through that final corner. He's trying to get everything he can out of it. I think that may just scrub the lap back a little bit here in terms of this charge. Over towards the line, 15.3 to beat, and he puts down a 15.4. All fell away with one corner to go.
Yeah, that cost him the best part of well over 0.4 of a second. Oh, that would have been a beauty. But Alex Goncalves still has probably another 2 laps in the bag in order to be able to facilitate that. If he can go quicker, that's going to give an opportunity for himself to, you know, just showcase to everybody, well, I haven't been in the championship fight, but I can guarantee this. I want that victory to close out the season. And the likes of Lagarde, Birchers, Joao Carapau, that's a good lap from him. just under half a second off the number 11 goes P3. 2 minutes 15.792. It was a 49.8 first sector, 47.1 second sector, and he was nearly, well, even with the mistake, Alex Goncalves did a 38.786. Joel Carapel with no real mistakes, a 38.832. So I think Goncalves, he could push it close to a 2 minute 15.0, and that'll be a high one at that.
Certainly will, and you're now starting to see how those final times stack up. Drivers are finding improvements here at every single factor. All but one of the 15 drivers then are out there on track. And look at Andy Birch. He's up near 4/10 in the opening sector alone. He's had an absolutely fantastic charge then to start off his lap. And as he hits the brakes, goes into the hurry down section, he runs it so deep through the corner. That's going to cost him a 1/10.5, if not 2. Going now in towards the carousel. You've got to be so patient through here. You've got to have a feather foot as you wait for the grip to find the car. The moment you can put the power down and not understeer out of this corner. The charge now towards that second sector time is going to be crucial. Through the kink and on the exit. This is where you're going to get that sector time coming up on the board. We'll wait for the marker here. As you cross, you can see lost 3/10 is up by 600ths now only after that mistake going through at that last section of track. This is all important now with 35 seconds left.
Yeah, Alex Goncalves is actually on an outlap at the moment, but Andy Birch, it's that woulda, coulda, shoulda situation there, but let's see if he can get himself up a little bit higher. If he can get himself into P3, which will put him on the inside of row number 2, and he's going to get another lap because he's going to cross the line before the timer hits 0 and the checkered flag comes out. But that was an absolutely blistering first section.
Oh.
And he goes pole! 2 minute 15.188. The final sector, Jake, a 38.599. Birch has just literally said to Alex Goncalves, there you go, buddy, hold my beer.
Exactly. Checkered flag out. Spinelli improved to P4. He's got one more lap yet. Casey Lagarde, struggling in that middle sector, is down 3/10 of a second at this stage. Needs a good final sector to gather it all back up again in terms of the lap. Makes that charge over towards the line. Has Casey Lagarde got anything? Goncalves has nothing over his lap, and it's a 15.8 from Casey Lagarde, so will not improve out there at this stage. Silver Piermet, personal best in the middle sector, is down only 2/10 at this moment. Call it 3. So now makes his run towards the final corner. And is there anything left to rock the apple cart anymore? Alex Trahorn, by the way, is down there in 8th place at the moment in qualifying. Well outside of time. 0.8 of a second back. It's going to be a very hard-fought championship from him from there. But over the line, a 15.6 improvement from Piermet jumps him up into P5 coming over the line. Francisco Valle Gonzalez is a personal best in the first sector. A little bit slower in the middle sector. Is down 0.8 of a second overall and will pull it into the pit. So could not find any improvements out there. The only 2 drivers out there who can really make something happen are Spinelli and Trahorn now. This is Alessio Spinelli down in sector 1, down in sector 2, might as well be down in sector 3 as well with this time. I don't think he can find 0.2 of a second in the final sector, but we have seen things before. Trahorn does improve, goes to 7th position out there in qualifying. Still not enough for what he needs, really. He'll be surprised to be 0.7 of a second off the pace of some of those up ahead of him. But there goes Spinelli's charge over towards the line. He's looking to improve on a 15.5 out there overall. And as he makes the stripe, it's a 15.7, a personal best in the final sector. Was not good enough. But P7, Alex Trahorn, Goncalves and Birch up there on the front row. It is topsy-turvy at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin.
I didn't know which part of the chapter had actually closed, whether it was going to be Birch or Goncalves that was going to pick up pole position. I mean, Goncalves is I'm sure is absolutely kicking himself right now, saying, why did I drop it coming out of turn 14? And Andy Birch just literally lit up the first sector, 0.4 quicker than anybody else, went purple in sector 3, and that was just like to say to everybody, you know what? Goncalves couldn't put it together. I made sure it happened. I might have been slower in sector 2, but sector 3 was when he really wound up the wick and put the warning shot saying, Goncalves might want to win this, but he's not the only one.
He's not the only one, and as everyone gets themselves ready and lit up, ready for racing action here at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, we're going to take this moment to make sure we have everything available to get ourselves into hyperdrive. We will be back with the race after these few messages as you watch the finale of your fantastic Alpine GT4 Championship. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Alpine GT4 Championship presented by World Pro Racing. A topsy-turvy qualifying which sees both of the championship contenders outside of where we have seen them traditionally all season long. This is something that really is going to put a cat amongst the pigeons. I'm Jake Sperry, Alex Goldschmidt alongside me for the ride. And Alex, we are having a little think about this as we were going through. We've seen all sorts of amazing action this season, but the reality of this one for Alessio Spinelli is that because he hasn't got himself a great qualifying this time around, he's going to have to work really hard to get most laps led over the course of what we've got. We've got drivers sat there ready for their outlaps, but what we can say is that Spinelli's either got to A, get up there quick and score massively, or B, and this is the one which is going to be the kicker, he needs a retirement today from Alex Trahorn.
Yeah, I think he wants that sort of fate to... Well, he wouldn't want to win the championship. You know, any good driver worth their salt will say, you know, I really want to win the championship on merit. I don't want to win it that way. But at the end of the day, if it decides the championship, that could really, really turn things right up on its head because, you know, we've been waiting for this Spinelli versus Trahorn all week up until now. And even last night doing the Duo series with... Nico Hildebrand, I was bigging it up. I said, look, it's Spinelli versus Trahorn, and I sort of got goosebumps just before we went live.
Absolutely, you can see there, 7th position on the grid for Alex Trahorn. Alessio Spinelli goes from 4th. There you can see like Stephen Johnson in 10th. Christian Sharp goes from 11th position, and Vance Lagarde there in 12th. But Trev Sharp, Anton Valle-Gonzalez, Darrell Russell, your top 15 overall. But Goncalves then and Birch, the two at the front who look like they are the favourites to be challenging this one outright for the victory, and they're even making their moments known as they go through turn number 5 there. A little overtake as a signal of things to come for the 72 machine. Rhineland Birch Racing, Andy Birch out there on track at the moment. And of course, a lot of fans here today making sure that everything is known. We've seen T-Rexes out for Trahorn. We've seen, of course, the massive contingent there for the Rhineland Birch Racing team. But as we all know, this is down to 2 drivers in a championship. The win, some may look at and go, yes, it's important to get it. But at exactly the same time, also about sealing the deal.
Indeed, it's one-on-one, mano y mano here at Road America. Yeah, I think Andy Birch is going to want to go out on a high. Jon Dix has actually been in the YouTube chat, and he said he couldn't put a lap together. I'm going to now help Andy to get the win. Jon Dix starts from 8th, and, well, he's got no ballast. Alex Trahorn has got 24 kilos. This is going to prove to be interesting, and you said about Spinelli, yeah, he's either got to get quickly up the road, and so has Alex Trahorn. They've got the same amount of ballast with both drivers. This could prove to be rather interesting.
Certainly could, and I'm just taking a look at Casey Lagarde here, who is in a world of trouble. I think his engine popped on the outlap, so that will mean he'll have to start this one today from the pits, which is not ideal at all. Now, everyone's going to jump up a position because of that, with Casey Lagarde having to go from pit lane, which makes the life a little bit easier, you would say, for Spinelli to move himself up into the position that he needs to today, which is to get to P1 as soon as possible and hold it for as long as he possibly can, even if he doesn't have the quickest car possible. There is Alessio Spinelli looking for his grid slot. It's a very awkward grid slot here as well. You don't get that much room between 1st and 2nd, 3rd and 4th. You effectively line up side by side on the grid if you look at this one as they go through. Everyone looking to get themselves ready on the grid. We will be missing one driver there in 3rd position. That might make life easier for Spinelli as he tries to work out and gets full position to pace. 30 minutes though starts now, and Spinelli is very slow to get himself going. Casey Lagarde, of course, will have to wait for all of these drivers to go through as they make that run over towards turn number 1 as they take that small descent down the hill. You can see just how much Spinelli's lost. He's already down in 6th, and they're side by side making contact as they go through. Andy Birch was one of them, making that hit with Goncalves as they go on through. Towards turn 3, you can see João Carapo trying to get into the mix as well, but Goncalves around the outside tried to hold the line and does so as they make that very strong start.
Well, you know what? Yeah, Spinelli, that's been a repeat of what we've seen. It's nearly 3 abreast. Oh, my goodness me. Alex Goncalves leading proceedings, but it's 3 abreast. My goodness. And turn into the wall. Andy Birch is involved. Alex Goncalves in the wall as well. That has changed everything in this race, and that's going to open the door for Alessio Spinelli. And what's more, Alex Trahorn. The big news here is, though, Jake, Alex Trahorn, he's in 2nd position.
How has he Houdini'd that? Silver PMX leads this race. There is Carapo in 6th, and it's now in 2nd. Alex Trahorn right now. We're not going to be able to bring you a replay of what just happened, but my goodness me, you got battling going on behind there. As I believe that is one driver trying to fight that one. Darrell Russell there in 14th position, trying to make his way around, and Goncalves still able to keep it going in 3rd position, but crucially, how much damage now will be there on that Team Racing Dad machine? So that's going to be something to keep in mind. Spinelli there in 5th position, Trahorn in 2nd, kept it out of trouble. Andy Birch still in 4th, and off the road goes Goncalves. Suddenly, it's about picking your lane here. Spinelli's trying to look every which way to go through. He's got to chase Trahorn.
Yeah, I've just had a look back at that incident. Silver Pimex was 2 wheels on the grass alongside Alex Goncalves as they came out of the bridge where it had all the cheese signage on there. And all of a sudden, Goncalves hasn't seen, I think, Andy Birch, and he's just turned in and all of a sudden collected Birch. They've both gone into the barriers, and that has just given Alex Trahorn the rat up the drainpipe situation to allow him to get past. And what's more, Alessio Spinelli now up into P4 behind Andy Birch. And looking at it from this perspective, Alex Trahorn's first sector, get this, nearly 1.3 seconds quicker than Alessio Spinelli, because Spinelli would have had to have taken avoiding action.
He definitely did, as we got Silver Pyramets in the lead. A bit of side-by-side we saw there as that's Johnston trying to get down the inside of Carapo in 6th position and isn't quite able to make that one happen. It was Pyramets on lap 1, ladies and gentlemen, who was fighting and making it 3 wide. Carapo, of course, in P6. But as they make their way through 3, it's about momentum out of this corner as they charge. The battle for 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th places right now on your screen at the moment as they make that descent under the Sargento Bridge and now over towards turn 5 once again through the Moraine Sweep, and the gap's starting to open up in this 30-minute race. It's not going to be long in terms of laps, it's going to be long in terms of distance. Birch running very wide through 5, just about able to gather it back up again, but Alessio Spinelli isn't going to want to wait around for an answer.
No, and Spinelli is... Oh, look at the back end just stepping out to the left-hand side for Andy Birch. Oh, as they say in NASCAR, he's running that Alpine a little bit loose, I would say there. But Spinelli looking every which way but loose. But then again, Andy Birch runs wide. Spinelli looks to the inside, can't capitalise under the Speedfield Bridge. And now through into the next sweeping right-hander they go. That will probably be through the carousel, if I'm very much mistaken. Very long. It feels like the carousel goes on forever, but you can see that Spinelli is pretty much right up the exhaust pipe of Andy Birch, going through the kink at turn 11, now through the run through Kettle Bottoms, down towards Canada Corner. Someone's kicked up the dust, and there goes Spinelli, looking one way, then the other. Okay, there's been an incident that's just been picked up by our FIA accredited race director, Adrian Figalo. So, Goncalves, as a result of that incident with Andy Birch, Goncalves gets eliminated for the fight for 3rd position. As look at this swarm of Alpines right here, being led by Goncalves, who will pick up a 10-second penalty.
There goes Johnson, just like that. Spinning out on the inside the final corner. You've got 6 or 7 now, all lining up through. PMX with the fastest lap, and now everyone trying to get through, including, of course, Lagarde as well. There is Birch again in trouble. Spinelli to the inside of turn 1, finally gets enough of a run to make it happen then into the first corner. You got Carapo fighting around the outside, bit of contact there. They're going to fan out almost 3 wide again as they go through. Lagarde is in the mix, of course, there as they challenge. Dix as well. Got side-by-side between Sharp and Valle Gonzalez on top of that, and that's going to be a huge moment for Vance Lagarde, who just about holds it together. There's no room. They're trying to race like they're Ryan Hunter-Ray. They're almost 4 wide here on the run towards turn 5.
Boogity, 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 as they say when things... Well, that should have been at the start of the race, let alone what's going on here, Jake. It's absolutely enthralling. And I think what they're trying to do here is just push the limits of adhesion as Jon Dix goes a little bit wide coming through the right-hander. And you can see side by side, that is Vali Gonzalez, that is Anton with Vance, and the Chevrolet board goes flying. They are giving absolutely no quarter at all, and that's even for the signage on the grass.
Well, that's very much a case of drivers being very aggressive and wanting to make moves. There is that bottleneck, and down the inside goes Johnson, trying to recover as he gets it, looking on Francisco Valle Gonzalez, and now it's going to be the long road around the outside the carousel, but Valle Gonzalez is in the grass through the first part of the corner, still in the grass through the second part, and just like that, thank you very much, he grabs a bit of curb, and the move is done. So that is one that you can see there. Now trying to make a way through all of this will be Casey Lagarde, right on the very back of this train. So he's now got himself back into contention with drivers here after starting from the pits, and now he's got to pick them off one at a time with 23 minutes to go.
And if Russell makes a mistake like that, Casey Lagarde will be past him quicker than a scalded cat on a hot tin roof. And that's just not saying anything about the action as Sharp get it. Now that is getting rather racy as Sharp's just sent it from a new area code up the inside of Carapau. And then you've got Goncalves in there as well. This is absolutely kicking off, and they are so close to the wall. Alessio Spinelli sets the fastest lap of the race, 2 minutes 16.523. Now the biggest question is, Goncalves has yet to serve that penalty, and I think Goncalves is staying out there as long as possible, because if it's over 3 laps, that car will be instantly disqualified and be given the black flag.
Very much will be. So that'll be eyes then in the back of the head as Casey Lagarde looks to go to the inside, wing mirror to wing mirror there with Russell, and does get it dispatched then at turn 1. Also want to keep my eye out here on the race lead, because Alex Trehorn has been slowly whittling that gap down to Silver PMX. You can see it's down to 0.6 of a second. Gap between Trehorn and Spinelli is 2 seconds at this moment in time as they go up through turn number 6. And I'll tell you what, PMX here is going to be doing things. Worth pointing out, all time penalties are going to be done post-race. They don't have to go into the pits to serve any penalties. Goncalves will be out there racing until the end of the checkered flag, but will get 10 seconds added onto his time, which for the moment would put him dead last.
Yeah, very much the case, but still, if Goncalves, Joao Carapau goes very, very wide there, whoops. Are they trying to hone their eyes on their inner Jean Ragnotti? Because it seems like going through that left-hander, they're more inclined to nearly touch the grass, let alone keep it on the tarmac.
Well, you've seen here, a lot of drivers have gone more AWOL than Aaron Rodgers over the course of this race so far, but at least for the moment, it's the front where you've got to keep the eyes now. Silver PMX, the gap down to under half a second. Alex Trehorn has quietly been working on it as Dix gets by Goncalves then in the battle for 7th place. Trehorn knows he's got to stay really, really alert. He's got to put himself in the best possible position now to make sure he can attack, he can get the result that he wants out of it, and he can get maximum points, because he knows if he's there in first, he's going to be fine. Yellow flags are out there now in Sector 3, as I'm hearing that the 21 machine of Sharp is going to be getting a 10-second time penalty at the end of the race after his hit with Johnson. So that's not going to be ideal. And look at how it stacks up now behind the Valle Gonzalez's. You've now got Casey Lagarde trying to move up into the top 10.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at the lap times between Spinelli, who's just gone fastest of anybody yet again. 2 minutes 16.204. The gap now between him and Alex Trehorn, get this, 1.5 seconds and closing, and there's been drama.
Yeah, that's Valle Gonzalez then and Darrell Russell, I think it may have been, both going for a spin at turn 1, and there you can see that is a donut that very nearly took out another driver. So very lucky there that it didn't end up in trouble. Casey Lagarde involved in it as well. So 3 drivers caught out as we now have 20 minutes to go, and still Silver PMX then out in front. Big miss of the apex though going through turn 6. Carapau back in front of Sharp as Casey Lagarde is now out of this race as classified. PMX now in defensive mode. He's got the lightest car of the top 3.
Yeah, and it's just about keeping it on the black stuff, and you don't want to go wide there, Silver. Oh, that could have allowed Alex Strayhorn, if he was closer to the back bumper of the 27 Alpine, to have maybe gotten through. Trev Sharp now trying to close in on, I think that is Vance Lagarde. Well, you can see here that it's just, that is Trev Sharp. Behind him he's got the 79, that is Anton Valle Gonzalez. And then Alex Goncalves just behind in the number 2. So Goncalves' run in the top, well, the running for the top 3 in this championship, I think realistically has fallen very much by the wayside. And the way things are standing, Andy Birch, if he stays where he is right now, Jake, could wrap up 3rd in the championship.
Certainly could, but of course, he's just got to keep it calm. He's got a 5-second gap to the car in front, 4 seconds behind, but suddenly, 3 to the dance at the front. Alessio Spinelli has been quietly working this race and has got himself now up into this fight. And this becomes a case of staying calm under pressure, as Spinelli knows he's got to get ahead of Strayhorn. Whichever way he does it, he knows this is a track which gives him an advantage. The disadvantage, it'll have to be a double toe, because PMX in front is giving Strayhorn a big boost down the straight.
Yeah, and then the thing is that if Spinelli gets past, then Strayhorn will have the opportunity to hunt him down, as we see that Vance Lagarde has actually ended up into the pit lane. As there's Alex Goncalves going literally right up the inside. That would have been on Anton Valle Gonzalez for position there. The thing is, Spinelli could, by all means here, Jake, get past. As now Strayhorn hits the front. Moment for PMX, and that is going to give Spinelli the opportunity that he now needs to go for the lead. And it's one thing to catch somebody, it's something altogether when you're trying to get past. And now, with 17 minutes and 20 seconds to go, it's ding ding, gloves are off right now. It's an MMA fight in the cage rather than an exhibition bout recently with Floyd Mayweather.
Well, you'd say, though, that they did a very good job in terms of their battles, but Spinelli here knows he's got to get aggressive and find a way through. He's reliant on the fact that Strayhorn needs to make a big mistake out there. He puts his nose to the inside for the kink. He's not going to get the move done like that. They are 2 equal vehicles, Spinelli and Strayhorn, by ballast. And look at this. You got Strayhorn all over the road trying to cover everything he can. He's so difficult to get by. We've seen it twice. When he's won, he's had sterling defences to get through. It's almost like dealing with an Imperial iron wall.
Very much the case. But this is going to allow Silver Pimets to get the opportunity maybe to retake that lead, because now the Estonian will have the double toe coming out of turn 14. So Pimets is going to thread the eye of the needle and interrupt this championship fight. As Strayhorn, Spinelli and Pimets, you can't separate them at all. As now, oh, Spinelli goes to the left-hand side of Strayhorn, heading into the sweeper round at turn 1. Spinelli, if he times it right, could get the run round the outside. He sweeps round the outside, goes wide off of the circuit. That's going to allow Strayhorn to get through as they head through into turn
3 wide. Oh, look at this. As they go on the brakes, there's a bit of contact there between Spinelli and Strayhorn, but they just about managed to keep it together. PMX has got a really good run and could force here Strayhorn to be in the wrong position at the wrong time. As they make that charge, of course, to 5, it is going to be Strayhorn on the inside as they go through, and on the brakes, PMX has to lift out of it then, and Strayhorn funnels back into second. Spinelli leads this one, and now I'd have to say, if you're Alessio Spinelli, you've got to check the train up so that PMX and Strayhorn start heavily battling amongst each other.
But I don't think Strayhorn's wanted to hang about for that to happen, as Spinelli bumps through the curves, through the right-hander. PMX on the back bumper of the number 15 as they head into the next left-hander. Oh, that's very close between the pair of them. PMX trying to go round the outside, looks to get the inside run for the next corner, and PMX, I think, has got the job done. He has. Strayhorn falls to 3rd.
That's a wonderful move by Silver. PMX had to get it done. And now all of a sudden, Alex Trahorn in third is now thinking about, okay, what's the points I need? Top 5 will get it done. We had to redo the maths, of course, ladies and gentlemen. And look at how much Trahorn's still pushing, though. He wants everything he can get. The math says that Trahorn is still champion as things stand. He could sit behind and wait and still keep the title as is, but he's down the inside at Canada corner, and you know what? He just sent Silva all the way to Quebec.
Yeah, good old Montreal, as they say. There's been another penalty issued as all. There was a bit of door banging there between Pirmets, who goes wide, coming out of that left-hander. That would have been going through Bill Mitchell Bend. He nearly lost the back end, but he managed to catch it. It's a 10-second time penalty going to Jon Dix for an avoidable collision on Alex Goncalves post-race. But Silva Pirmets, I think, was very, very lucky. Nearly lost one of his 9 lives coming through Bill Mitchell Bend. As you said, it is off camber. It can unsettle the car, particularly on the left-hand side, and that could kick the right rear out very, very easily indeed. But yeah, I think it's now about Trahorn just keeping his focus. There's 13.5 minutes still to go. Spinelli's got the fastest lap in the bag, so that's more points to him. But I don't think that's enough. I think he's got to do a little bit more. He's got to lead the most laps. And at the moment, Silva Pirmets, I think, holds that honour.
He does, but Spinelli's got 2.2 seconds right now out there at the front of the field. That's very important in terms of the points. Let's go through the rules and what bonus points there are. So it's 35 points for a win. You get 5 points for the fastest lap. You get 2 points automatically for just starting the race, and that is for everyone. 3 points for consistency, 3 points for leading the most amount of laps, and then the award for the top end consistency positions is 1 point. So now you start to look at all of that. Well, you know that Alex Trahorn's got 2 extra points in the bag, and that will put him on 28 points right now in third, which will be a 20-point swing at this moment in time. 20-point swing, you need 26 if you're Alessio Spinelli to tie it up, and he would have more wins on countback, so that would be his. So right now you'd say P6 is where he'd ideally need Alex Trahorn. Issue is, well, P6 is 11 seconds down the road. He needs a mistake, and Pirmets is pulling away here from Alex Trahorn.
Yeah, well, yeah, Pirmets is pulling away. Spinelli's now pulled away to the tune of nearly 2.5 seconds. There's Trev Sharp running out the top 8. I mean, just looking at things at the moment, yeah, as you say, 147 points currently for Alex Trahorn and 121 for Alessio Spinelli. Oh, it's going to be tight. I mean, just by looking at it, it'd be 175 for Trahorn, and then that would be 163 for Alessio Spinelli because he'll get 2 points for starting the race, 35 points for the win. 5 points for fastest lap, which he's currently got in the bag, and I don't think anyone's going to usurp that by any stretch of the imagination. You know, it's going to be interesting from that aspect, but yeah, Spinelli, and also I'm looking at Andy Birch. I'm just seeing his lap times at the moment. He's getting quicker, and in the last lap alone, he was nearly 2 tenths up on Trahorn in Sector 1, and almost a 10th up in Sector 2 on the previous lap. So my estimation here is that gap between Alex Trahorn and Andy Birch could come down. Your Dix is in the pits as Christian Sharp. Oh, Christian Sharp has just taken fastest lap away from Alessio Spinelli, which puts it 175 to 158.
You start looking around in this sort of race and go, where has P11 found that from? Darrell Russell, by the way, side by side with Jon Dix on the exit of turn number 3, and the move done by Jon Dix then to get that one sorted. So the Rhineland Racing car back there in 12th position overall at this point in time. But that, of course, now will make a few checks and swings and looks around for the championship positions at this stage. Every point we have focused on right now means a lot. And those 5 points right now for Alessio Spinelli, he desperately want back. Darrell Russell, we are hearing, is now in issuance of a penalty. You can see that it's just cropped up on the screen right now. But there is your race leader, 3.3 seconds clear. He's got to run qualifying laps between now and the end. The one thing he's got to do is make sure that he has put the fastest lap of this race in, makes his life a little easier. There is Darrell Russell in the 12 machine out there overall. We're just waiting confirmation from Adrian Fagaio on what that penalty is for. I'm pretty sure it's through the right of one that we saw about 10 minutes ago in terms of the penalty we've had. Of course, the stewards here today, more so than any other race this season, I'd say here, Alex, has had the biggest amount of work to do.
Yes, and that mountain has yet to reach its peak. And, we've got another penalty coming through. Francisco Valle Gonzalez had a 10-second time penalty, which was taken, and that was through avoidable collision. It seems like the penalty was in game. But with 9 minutes remaining, Spinelli has only got to do what he can and move forward. And he's pulled that gap to nearly 3.8 seconds over Silver Piermetz. Alex Trahorn is closing on Silver Piermetz. And that's rather interesting there, because if Trahorn puts that car into second position at the end of this race, what that's going to do, that's going to give him another 5 points. That's going to put him on 183 as opposed to 170. No, not 183. That'll be 180. So that'll be 12 points between the two at the end of this race and at the end of the season.
But at this point, it doesn't really matter whether it's second or third at this moment in time for Alex Trahorn. He's got to manage this one. Yes, he was closing in on Silver Piermetz, but he's got this safe all the way down to P6 if he wants to. He could have a wheel technically fall off the wagon on the final lap, and all he's got to do is make sure that he's 12 seconds clear of Johnson by the end of that, so he's got margin to deal with. Russell still in his fight then with Lagarde as they fight for the wooden spoon down at the bottom of the pack at this moment in time. It's a very long lap, so these drivers won't be worrying about being lapped at all. But Darrell Russell just pushing a little bit wide there through the corner. That's going to allow Vance Lagarde to now move up alongside it here on the run to 6. And they very much trade some paint as they go through. Russell skews out wide, runs into the side there as he loses out. The back windshield has popped out then for Darrell Russell, and just like that, that is a big hit, which I think is going to cause a few more issues and headaches for race control.
Yeah, Adrian Figalo and George Muscat having their work cut out for them this evening, as Anton Valle Gonzalez has Christian Sharp behind, and looks like, it's Anton Valle Gonzalez, and side by side with Christian Sharp, and Sharp just literally powers past as if Anton Valle Gonzalez was standing still. And here comes Francisco to join the three-way scrap. They do say that two's company, but three is definitely a crowd. But with the way that Spinelli's pulling away, and Christian Sharp just sort of like deciding, you know what, I'm going to have a bit of fun here. I'm going to take the fastest lap, and Silver Piermetz has just got a penalty. That has now assured Alex Trahorn of the championship right now with 6.5 minutes to go.
Knock wood. We don't know what will happen in the final 6 minutes, but a penalty comes in for Silver Piermetz then, and everything is starting to just unravel for Alessio Spinelli. Yes, he's leading this one. Yes, this is, at current, going to be his third race win of the season. But, as we all know, there are no guarantees here when it comes to sim racing, and even if it looks as safe as houses at this point, we all know there's been some housing crashes in the past, so you can't really say it's all a guarantee. Russell in then for his penalty, but at least for the moment, we are waiting for confirmation then on what that penalty is for and what we are seeing at the end. There is the 27 of Silver Piermetz trying to put everything together through the middle sector, as into the pits comes Darrell Russell looking for it. It is an in-game penalty, of course, for Silver Piermetz, so nothing that is put together by the steward, but that will be for track limits.
Yeah, that's something that we leave to the system software, because Adrian Figaro and George Muscat have, as I said earlier, they've got their work cut out for them, as the brothers Valle Gonzalez, Anton versus Francisco. This is the battle over the final position in the top 10. And that now, one of the things that you don't want to do if you are brothers, don't take each other out. It's a bit like teammates, really, even though they are effectively teammates.
It's worse.
5 minutes to go, Jake. Francisco runs wide and does a bit of grass cutting.
Yep, so that then is just how much that these two are pushing. And of course, the one thing that's worse than hitting your teammate is hitting your brother that is also your teammate. which would definitely not be a plan in the long and the short, as they fight in front as well. Sharp and Goncalves, and through goes Christian Sharp with a huge kick of tail going on through that sector. And now Goncalves trying to fight this one back here on the outside and get it done. Not quite there for the moment, but now this gets really interesting. How hard is this going to be fought for by Silver Piamets? He's got a penalty hanging over him like the Damocles, and now he's got to focus and work out, am I fighting Alex Trehorn right now, or am I not here in this one for second? Of course, Trehorn will know that Piamets has got a penalty, and now here comes the attempt then from Trehorn right up underneath, going to the outside, taking the risk to go and get this move done. And has he got it all held around the outside? The answer is no. And with a little bit of a slide, he keeps it in shape.
Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, discretion, as they say, is the better part of valour. And Alex Trehorn, I think, would be wiser just to stay behind Piamets. He doesn't need to fight the number 27, as the brothers Valle Gonzalez going side by side under the Sargento Cheese Bridge. And this is looking rather close. Francisco could have the run into the next sweeping left-hander. Goes towards the inside. They both lock up. And, oh, Francisco outbreaks himself. Opens the door for Anton, who says, oh, thank you very much.
Not done yet, though. Still got to fight it through 6. But it is nicely sorted. And this is where you're seeing that trade-off through every corner. Why it means so much to get in these battles. There is not long, of course, to go here in this race. They have got not long at all, and on the brakes you can see how the car sits down through this one. But Piamets and Trehorn side by side as they head to Canada corner, and now Trehorn trying to unlock it up and under. He'll be on the outside now for Bill Mitchell Bend, and he puts 2 tyres in the grass as we look at Birch. Trehorn having to yield then. I think he's racing this one hard for second place. I think he wants it at this stage. He will go through the final corner, and the question will be, will this one be down onto the lane? It won't, so this will continue on. They will have 2 laps to go. They'll cross the line with 15 seconds to go on this next lap. And look at Piamets all the way to the wall.
Yeah, and now that gives an opportunity for Alex Trehorn to go towards the left-hand side of the number 27. This is going to be this is going to be nip and tuck, but Trehorn backs out of it, rotates the car in to carry a little bit more exit speed out of that corner. Through into 2, which is the slightest of kinks, then into the sweeper here at 3. Piamets has still got his number, but at the moment now going through down towards the Moraine sweep into turn 5 as Christian Sharp. Oh, that's a doozy. He's nigh off. That was quicker than his qualifying lap. Christian Sharp did a 2 minute 16.5 in qualifying. He's just done a 2 minute 15.680 in the race on lap number 13, and Silver Piamets still hanging on ahead of Alex Trehorn, but it's just a mere formality. Yellow out in sector 2 ever so briefly there.
Yeah, so looks like there has been an issue for someone out there at the moment. You've got 2 Sharps now together at this moment in time. I'll tell you what, Christian Sharp must have let there Alex Clark Kent qualify the car as Superman's taking control.
Yeah, one's a newspaper report and the other one is the son of Krypton. But yeah, I mean, that's a doozy of a lap there, but you can still see with a minute on the clock, Piamets recalcitrant in wanting to let this go. He knows he's got a penalty, but he's going to fight Trehorn, and I think Trehorn is... well, hang on a second, what's just happened there? Piamets is now down in 3rd.
I think what we've just seen is what technical issues are all about then. So yeah. Piamets drops a second, and that will be a connection issue with the server as he drops back and effectively lags back an extra second. Very tough when that happens, and it really does hurt when you go through. But just like that, a second is lost, and the battle is then also lost then. Spinelli, 8.4 seconds clear at the front, will go on to start his final lap of this race, of this season. And by 1 lap pace, by virtue of overall pace, he has been the fastest driver all season long, and proving so again with such a large margin here out in front in this one. But the big key has been that this is a season, and you have to finish every race of the season, and that one non-finish has been what has been in the back pocket for so long. Now there's Andy Birch. He's dealing with João Carapo. This is an important battle for third in the championship. Carapo is a little bit further behind overall in terms of his margin to deal with as the defense looks to come into play then towards turn number 3. The difference between those drivers is 7 points at this moment in time. They are 4th and 5th overall. There is Christian Sharp fighting out, and then the Valle Gonzalez is once again over the stripe, fighting hard for position. They will look for that run towards turn number 1. It looks like Anton here is dealing with Francisco to make it even more confusing. They're brothers with the same livery and the same number out there at this moment in time, and move score complete by Francisco. But there is Spinelli making his way through the middle sector of the lap, the highest point on this circuit, before taking that descent back down the hill in towards then Hurry Downs and turn number 8 out on track. The long 9 comes along here of this carousel, and you are fighting the tyres every single stage of the way. Birch and Carapo are closing in on Trehorn and PMX, but they are running out of time. But what a season it has been for Alessio Spinelli. You cannot fault him for his drive today. Started the car in a 4th position, dropped back a little bit off of a poor start, and then had to work hand over fist to get himself back into play. He will take the most points for most laps led. He won't get the fastest lap overall, and Alex Trehorn late gets a penalty. This changes everything. We have no idea how this season's going to end up now, because the penalties will be coming in. We'll be having to wait on how those points stack up and how much of a penalty will be applied late on in this race, because both Trehorn and PMX now take penalties up the hill for the final time. The battle is won by Alessio Spinelli as he makes that drive to the line. Inside the final 3 corners of this race, and he dives into the pits to serve it on the last lap. Now, will this count or not is huge. He drops down to at least 5th position. His grid slot, where his penalty stall is going to be behind the finish line, so he crosses the line in P5. But crucially, where does this put Alex Trehorn? This season has ended on the biggest what if I have ever seen.
Well, you know what? You said about it being P6. He's down in 7th. Oh my goodness.
We don't know. We
don't
know yet.
But the thing is until that's confirmed, we just got to wait until it is confirmed by race control on that front. Because like you say, we've got absolutely no idea. I never thought I would ever see a cliffhanger in my life on that kind of situation. You know, Spinelli did exactly what he needed to do. But Trehorn must be thinking, where have I finished? He'll probably be just as confused as we are.
Well, we've got no idea. I'm sure the drivers have no idea. Spinelli knows he's won the race and he thinks his season's over. But now it's a case of everybody trying to look around and go, what happens here in R Factor 2 when you try and serve a penalty on the final lap? I think he didn't get to his pit stall to serve it, so the penalty will still carry on regardless.
Oh, that spells trouble, I think, Jake, unfortunately. But yeah, even in the YouTube chat, people are like going, "What?" Yeah, we're just as confused as you people are there. But that effectively means I'm just going to have a look now that Andy Birch has provisionally secured himself 3rd in the championship, ahead, I think, of João Carapo, because look where Alex Goncalves is, down in 8th position at the end of the race. Well, that could be 9th, but yeah, we are waiting for the 64,000 euro question to be answered, and hopefully we get clarification soon. But yeah, Spinelli wins the race ahead of João Carapo and Andy Birch. Oh, more twists and turns than the never-ending story, Mr. Sperry.
I think PMX here takes its penalty. It will be, I don't know how much of it, but we'll have to wait for confirmation from the stewards. But if that is anything to go by, and we haven't seen any changes then on this board, that puts Alex Trehorn down in position number 9. And if that is the case, then that is Alessio Spinelli's championship. Of course, we have to preface this. We do not know. We have to wait for official confirmation to come down in on the driver's standings that we have available to us at this moment in time. We do not know what this situation is for us. But Alex, that just puts together a wonderful season that has brought itself effectively to a close. Even after the checkered flag of the final race, we do not know how this championship's gone. That's incredible.
It's an in-game penalty I've just seen.
Yeah.
So people wondering what could that have been for? Well, that could have been for track limits. We did see that Alex Strayhorn did have a couple of moments going wide whilst battling away with silver pin mats. So you have 3 track cuts. The 4th one gives you an automatic penalty. So yeah, I mean, out of all the series or championships or whatever I've commentated on here on World Pro Racing, to see it end that way, wow.
I've been 7 years in sim racing, almost at this point. Never have I seen a championship have to be decided like this. And my goodness, I do not know which way to look and which way to turn. One thing I do know, though, is that we've got 2 drivers who are irrespective of the championship right now. At this stage, João Carapo and Andy Birch are here. We'll talk to João first. João, good race from you today. One which I'm sure has been very hectic at the end, but you had to fight really hard early on to keep yourself in the mix with the likes of Andy Birch and co.
Yeah, that wasn't easy. I saw Gonçalves. I saw I was a bit faster than Gonçalves, but I didn't want to push the overtake. But then I had those guys on my back, and it wasn't really easy to. In the end, it worked out good, but yeah, a bit stressful.
A bit stressful indeed. But let's talk about your season first and foremost. You've scored 20 points at every single round of this championship or more. You've been a very consistent driver on when you've finished. And now that this final race has come along, you now funnel yourself into a position where you can say that, you know, today was a really strong effort and a really strong battle, and one which you can be incredibly happy and excited for with the way that you got yourself fighting right towards the very end of the race.
Yeah, I think I was lucky. I think Andy's tires weren't that good, so I managed to pass him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to be honest, I'm still surprised I finished P2 because I know there were a couple of guys in front of me, so I don't really know what happened.
Well, there's a lot of things. I'm sure everyone doesn't quite know what's happened. But in terms of now what the focus is for you, you're moving on towards that next stage of the season. We don't quite know how the points stack up. We don't know where you finished in the championship. Provisionally, we think it's P4 at this moment in time, but a strong result nevertheless for you. How has this season been for you, and what are you looking at towards the next areas of your seasons?
It's been very fun. I mean, it's a big thank you for you guys to putting this up. It's been good fun. It's quite competitive racing. There's a lot of very fast guys in here. I just want to improve. That's basically it.
Well,
I don't aim to finish first because I'm not fast enough, but I hope I can improve to some extent.
Well, to that extent, we hope we see you up there near the top soon. Before we let you go, João, shout out sponsors, anyone you'd like to thank.
Just my team, Alex Strayhorn and Alexandre Gonçalves for all the help, and it's good to race with those guys. And big thanks to you guys for setting this up. It's really good. So congratulations.
No worries at all then. João Carapo, who gets it done. We assume P2 is the overall finishing position for this one. We still have to clarify a couple of things. Alex, you have found yourself Andy Birch, who was in that battle with Carapo right down to the final lap.
Yeah, Andy, our pole position winner ahead of Alex Gonçalves by, well, what was an absolutely beautiful lap, Andy, a 2-minute 15.1. But then things went rather south rather quickly. We saw Silver Pyramids go 3 wide with both you on the inside and Gonçalves in the middle. But you still managed to regain composure and still get it into the top 3 at the end of the race. You've been ultra consistent this season. What were your first thoughts when that incident happened?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy down into that corner. I'd be honest, I didn't really know what was going on. It sort of felt like, I'd been driven into, which didn't make sense because I know none of those guys would do that. So yeah, knowing it's 3 wide makes sense. I'm guessing I probably could have, given a bit more room, I'll have a look afterwards. So to be honest, it was just kind of typical, like on pole, hey, I'm going down to the first lap, lead in, I'm out the race. But actually, I came out relatively unscathed. The car still seemed to drive okay. Yeah, got my head down and just, I was still in 4th place, which is my best finish this season anyway. So I was just going from there. It was pretty. I kind of seemed to be in my usual lonely position behind the fast guys and just trying to keep ahead of the pack behind. I think Zhao behind me was just. He clawed me in like throughout the whole second part of the race. I was just watching the laps, the gap just kind of steadily go down. I could see with a couple of laps to go he was going to be on me. So I didn't have the tyres to try and hold him off. So I thought, there we go. Decent enough finish. And then, coming up that hill, coming up towards the finish line, I didn't know what was happening. Saw a couple of guys go off into the pits. Saw P3 come up on the position. Didn't really understand. It sounds like you guys are still trying to work out what's going on. So, I guess we find out. But, super fun race. And, back to pole position. That was the main thing. Got my glory.
Yeah, when Goncalves drops a bit of a clanger coming out of turn 14. But looking back at your season, again, consistency has kept you in that hunt for what we think provisionally is going to be P3 in the standings. We don't know how the top 2 are going to run out, but that must be a pretty good feeling after what's been a pretty consistent season for you all the way through. And obviously your teammate Yondix trying to do his level best, but he's just put in the YouTube chat, he said, bad day in the office for me, but Andy got the podium and I'm really happy for him.
He's a nice guy. Thank you very much, Jon. I mean, the season's been, just like you say, super consistent. This car, as the season's gone on, just seems to get, just finding a bit more speed in it. Just probably going from being a bit too gentle with the car in the first races, and actually it seems to quite like just being abused. So ragging a bit more seems to work quite nicely. I think it's great as well with the way the series works with all of the weight penalties. It's just gradually pegging in the front guys, and I know that without those weight penalties, I wouldn't be on pole and wouldn't be fighting for podiums. But it's just fun the way that works out. The top guys are still at the top, just closes the gap, so gives the rest of us a bit of a chance. So I was definitely wanting to try and hold on to P4 in a championship. That was my aim, really, having been there all season, and I wasn't thinking P3 would be on the card, so I don't see how that can happen, but I'll let the mathematicians figure that one out.
We've just had all of the maths worked out here, Andy. You are 4th by 1 point.
So glad I said provisional there, Jay. But Andy, before we let you go, any shout-outs to sponsors, friends, family, and team, and the like?
Just thanks to the family here that letting me, take a Wednesday evening off and pat around doing this. I've got a little boy here who seems to want to sit and give you some extra views on YouTube and comes and engineers the car. The missus is sort of supporting, although she did come in and laugh at me because I'm wearing gloves today. And thanks to Jon as well. He helps with the setups, and he's had a bit of a rough season. Because I'm really always chasing him, and he's kind of my marker for going faster. So I don't think he got the points that he probably wanted or deserved. But we'll be back for another season. See what we can do.
Well, Andy, thank you very much. Jake, back over to you.
I have now confirmation of the results of this race. So Alessio Spinelli is confirmed as the race victor, Carapo in 2nd and Birch in 3rd. But crucially, the question was, where did Alex Trehorn finish in this race? Now, it's worth reminding everyone, ladies and gentlemen, that there were some 10-second time penalties added to this racing at the end of the race. And those went to Christian Sharp, Trev Sharp, to Alex Goncalves, and to Anton Gonzalez as well as Jürgen Dix. So with all of that considered, Alex Trehorn has finished this race in 6th position and wins the championship by 5 points overall from when all of this is calculated out. The difference is 169 for Alex Trehorn, 164 for Alessio Spinelli overall. Alex Trehorn is your champion of the Alpine GT4 Championship. I do have Alessio Spinelli with me right now. Alessio, the win, of course, was a wonderful, wonderful battle. The championship, just a little bit out of reach. But what a result for you today. What a fight you put on.
Hello to you all. This result has been very hard because I had problem with the wheel just before this race. Lucky, I'm very lucky. The problem is it was that the wheel doesn't respond on the rotation as usual. So when I little turn the wheel, really the tire are turning very much, too much as usual. So I drive all the race with touching the wheel very, very little perceptible movement. This is my condition of this race. I don't know what really happened to Alex at the end, because at the I think last lap or one before, I see in standing ladder Alex in 2nd position, so I thought okay, it's done. So I don't know effectively what happened. This race, like I said, I don't know how I reached the 1st position, because driving in that situation was very, very, very hard and difficult.
Very hard, very difficult, but a wonderful result nevertheless with the troubles. And especially when it came to the battle in the middle parts of the race, I'm pretty sure that's where it came alive for you. Yourself, Alex, Silva, all going out there, all trying to make sure that the result was effectively on the table. Did you feel like you had to go out there in that mid part of the race, be aggressive, be proactive, and get those positions sorted?
Oh, I try to do everything with the maximum attention, without damage any other pilot, first of all, and try to get the best I can get. That was my intention. The car was very fast in the test. I have my best lap in race configuration in 1:15 3/10. So I think I would have all another kind of race if I had the wheel in the right setting. And it was yes, it was very difficult in the middle part to be in battle with other drivers trying to pass without any problem with him. We are very close, so every movement, little movement I made could be dangerous. I'm very, very hot in this moment.
Understandable. But before we let you go, it is second in the championship, 3 race victories, a second and a retirement. Before we let you go, anybody you'd like to thank after what has been a sensational season in terms of getting up to the top level of this sort of series?
Oh, I want to thank first of all you of a great champion, nice, very funny, and other pilots that race with me in this championship. Was being a very very nice championship, and I would say at last I'm a little sorry of this problem I have, because it seems that the 5 points of fast lap could be crucial for the championship. But these, I can say, these are races, so be more lucky next time.
Luck is one pass of racing after all. Alessio Spinelli, second position, but not by very much at all. Mr. Goldschmidt, you have found Mr. Trahorn champion here of the Alpine GT4 series by just one fastest lap of difference.
Mr. Trahorn, firstly, congratulations as our confirmed Alpine GT4 champion here on World Pro Racing. The margin was going to be very, very low in terms of tolerance, but by a fraction, 6th place at the end of the race, despite having battled away with Alessio and also Silva Pirmes throughout the majority of it, to still come away with the championship, even having finished 6th, you must be feeling rather relieved right now.
Yeah, honestly, the last 5 minutes, I had no idea what's going on. I have no idea where I finished. I had the drive through, and it all fell apart in the last few corners. But I guess I got lucky to finish 6th, or unlucky to get the penalties. I don't know. But yeah, I wasn't expecting to be this competitive when I joined, and to win it is, albeit with luck on my side, but it's a nice feeling.
Obviously, yourself and Alessio, you had the maximum amount of ballast between two drivers, 24 kilos apiece. It still did help when we had that incident between Andy Birch and Alex Goncalves earlier on in the first lap. I think you must have been, at that particular moment in time, thinking, you know what? This has actually worked out pretty well, because I think you started down in around 6th position. You ended up 2nd by the end of the first lap, so things were looking a bit more rosy.
Yeah, it was obviously unfortunate for those two. They come together. They were going 3 wide into that corner. It was, I was, licking my lips at the sight of that, because I thought there's at least one place I can gain here. But that opening lap was fun. Managed to get couple of places, and then of course the incident brought me into 2nd from I think 7th on the grid, so that is about as good as I could hope for. But I want to give a shout out to all the drivers who, it was really competitive today. You saw the margins in qualifying, and it's like the last day of school where everyone showed up to play.
That sounds very much like a school leavers party to me. Alex, firstly, as I said earlier on, congratulations on taking the championship by the narrowest of margins. Anyone in particular you'd like to thank before we let you go?
Thanks, obviously, to all the drivers for competing, you guys to hosting and, commentating and all that. And thanks to everyone watching. And I suppose thanks to Molly for bringing me some cakes earlier. I will eat them in a second.
Definitely one way to celebrate. Alex Trahorn, our Alpine GT4 champion. Congratulations, and we look forward to seeing you back again here on World Pro Racing, Alex.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Jake, back over to you.
Yes, I've managed to get a chance to catch up with Alex Goncalves, who finished off 3rd position in the championship after what seemed such a promising start, Alex. It's a race that effectively fell and crumbled apart, but through all of it, you are still 3rd somehow.
Well, hello all. Yes, this race was very stressful. I think I had a good setup for the car. I worked on the setup this week. I had a good setup. I had a good pace. Unfortunately, I was involved on an accident on the first lap. I went sideways for a couple of meters. My left tires were screwed, so. And then the next corners, then this is a circuit with a lot of right-hand corners, so where the grip on the left tires is very important. And then on the next laps, I was suffering from tire grip, left tire grips. Then I went wide on one turn. I crashed into the wall. I got a front left puncture, and that even got worse. And then I was involved in another accident. Someone shut me the door on one corner, and I crashed. I spun, and well, and I wasn't able from that moment to get proper laps because the corners were a nightmare, and well, I wasn't able to drive and ride at my usual pace. So it was hard for me today, but still happy. The goal for me today was actually perform to be able to keep the third position on the championship. It seems that I was able to do it, so I'm really happy. And yeah, that's it.
Really happy you take that third place by 1 point overall from Andy Birch. It was another 3 points back to João Carapo, but for you, this season was very hard fought. A lot of 4th and 5th place finishes, one solitary podium at Portimao for you, but really a season which has been prided on that consistent finishing. In terms of how this car has treated you, did you like it? Did you not like it? And are you looking for more events in something very similar to this?
Well, the car is very understeered, so we have to work a lot on the setup to compensate that. Actually, on this race, I tried a different setup that made it not so oversteery, and I was able to get good paces. But yeah, other than that, I think the car is fun to drive, and definitely I will be looking forward for next events like this.
Well, the floor is yours here, Alex. A third place in the championship, which was really hard fought for all the way down to the wire. Shout out sponsors, anyone you'd like to thank.
I would like to thank first to you guys that host this series, and also to you that join us here on the races and do an awesome job commentating. For me, it's always a pleasure to watch the videos afterwards. It's always very amusing, and apart from that, my family that always supports me, and of course my teammates and all the drivers as well. Without them, this wouldn't be as fun as it is.
Alex Goncalves then coming home with third overall in the championship. In terms of overall race result here today, it is a little bit further down. With that, it would be 10th position in the end, the finish overall from Goncalves from a front row start. But Mr. Goldschmidt, final thoughts as we bring a close to a hectic and crazy Alpine GT4 championship.
All I'm going to say is that grandstand finish of Spinelli winning, Trehorn getting a drive-through penalty on the final stage of the race, on the final lap, to finish P6 and winning it by 5 points. This championship just showcases that when you put a one-make series into contention, it is so much about parity, it's so much about equality and showcasing the skills of the drivers. That is what championships like these are meant to do here on World Pro Racing, and it is accepting for everybody, irrespective if you're an amateur and a professional. I thought the USF 2000 series that I commentated on with Chris Buxton was a doozy. This one has seen business really pick up, and I'm glad that we've had this championship, Jake.
Absolutely, of course, said by a famous Oklahoma Sooner, that being good old Jim Ross. But the season comes to a close right now with us at World Pro Racing, but there's so much more that goes on behind the scenes on the horizons with many events. We've seen the Duo Series races coming up. Tomorrow, we've got ourselves some more action with some more GT4 vehicles over on the Assetto Corsa Competizione. And, of course, some more to come along with the ACC Sprint Series. Massive thank you has to go to the team who's worked on this behind the scenes, from Adrio Figallo and George Muscat. They have both been part of the FIA-accredited stewarding team, and they have had a very busy day today here at Road America. From Justin Mifsud, who has been out there on the cameras for us here today, and, of course, the whole plethora of platforms we've been on: YouTube, Facebook Live, Twitch. We've been, of course, here with Motorsport.tv, with ESTV, the Esports Television Network, and on top of that, we have been with TVM Sport as well. Alex Goldschmidt, Jake Sperry. Lights out in what was a marquee season, which went down even on after the checkered flag had waved. I tell you what, there is some luck on the side. Were it not for the penalties, the slew of 10-second penalties added on at the end of the race, I'll tell you what, it wouldn't have been a championship for Alex Trehorn come the end. But some fortune does favour the brave. Some fortune does come along from finishing all your races. Consistency, key, as this championship finishes off. 5 points the margin, but 5 more reasons Spinelli will want to race even harder next time we bring to racing. We'll see you very soon with World Pro Racing, because this is where sim racing becomes real.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
It's just so dangerous. You are risking not only your life, but also my life.